Yeah, good morning again, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Andrew Wilson. I'm at the Supply Chain Sustainability School. I'm the account manager for National Highways, working closely with the organisation itself, but several prime contractors and many of their suppliers and subcontractors also to promote and upskill the supply chain on sustainability. Purpose of this morning's session is to look at the social value tool, the National Highways Social Value Tool, to present a little bit of background as to where the tool has come from, what the tool aims to do, how it will benefit all of the highway sector, your organisations, National Highways itself, and other stakeholders who support the industry. We're going to have a look at the tool in a live environment as well. I've got my colleague Stefania on the call who's going to talk us through practically how to use the tool as an administrator. This morning's session is all about providing administrators with the practical guidance and knowledge to be able to set up reporting units for projects that they're delivering on behalf of National Highways and ensure that their organisations and their supply chains are effectively submitting data on a regular basis through the social value tool. But before we get into the detail of all of that, I'm going to introduce Steve Fozzard, who is leading the work on social value for National Highways. And Steve would like to share a few thoughts and give a little bit more insight into the importance of the social value tool and the wider work on social value strategy and delivery within National Highways itself. So Steve, thanks for joining. Over to you.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. And just a quick reminder to everybody, I'm working on social value on behalf of Andrew Stevenson, the procurement director, who in turn is working for Malcolm Dare, the commercial and procurement director. So a lot of the work, the great work that has been done in social value, currently we are now trying to attempt to coordinate and capture more effectively. And the value of being able to articulate the additional benefits that we deliver via the schemes that we deliver through you and the fantastic work that you do in the supply chain is that we can then articulate that and explain the benefits that we deliver that help the government deliver this levelling up agenda that no doubt you'll have all heard of. What is of particular relevance is, though, that the sooner we get great at collecting social value, we will allow ourselves an opportunity to influence the Road Investment Strategy 3 period, which is rapidly coming up. So we have a short window of opportunity to influence and explain in more detail exactly the full scope of the work that we do with apprentices in the community, improving the environment, placemaking for people, and giving people careers that they can be proud of and happy in whilst they build the nation's strategic road network. So it's really key that we have a tool that allows us to capture all that data and then to be able to turn that into reports supplemented by strong case studies that you in the supply chain are already helping us produce. So we're just going to say thank you very much for taking the time today, and I hope you find today's session useful. And if you have any questions, please do get in touch. steve.fozzard@nationalhighways.co.uk. Okay, and I'll hand you back to Andrew now. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Steve. I'm just wrestling to share my screen, which has hopefully come through now. I'll just go on to slideshow. Yes. There we go. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, thanks for that, Steve. It's great to set the scene and talk about the wider background and context and give the insight into why this is so important for everyone on the call. So what we're aiming to do today is give a little overview, the structure of the social value tool. Many of you on the call will have used the sustainability tool. We're using a very similar approach to the social value tool. It's built on the same platform, So hopefully the environment will be familiar to many of you who've used the previous sustainability tool for the RDP. We're going to look at the role of an admin, the responsibilities of an admin, what you will need to do if you haven't used the tool before, what you will need to do if you have used the previous version, but want to make sure that everything's set up correctly for your organizations and the schemes that you're delivering to submit data accurately and on time. We're going to give, obviously, if we've got time as well, a little bit of insight into reporting and approving, just so you're aware of how your supply chains will be using the tool. The learning outcomes are on the right-hand side there. Hopefully they're all clear. If you have got any questions throughout the session, please use the chat function within Zoom, and we'll try and circle back around to those towards the end of the session. So on to just a little overview of the tool for those of you who haven't used it before. The social value tool is all about managing the impact. It's about collecting the data in one area, one platform, one environment that everyone has access to, and hosting that data on the cloud and being able to report and use that data to bring together all of the work that National Highways, its core prime contractors and their supply chains are doing on the various schemes, not just through RDP, the Regional Delivery Partnership, but also through other major frameworks and projects such as Smart Motorways, such as Scheme Delivery Framework, such as Lower Thames Crossing and A303, and also A66, etc. We will collect that in one place, and we will be able to demonstrate and report on the entire social value impact that the highway sector is having. The social value tool is designed, obviously, to measure and understand performance at scheme level and deliver on the social value strategy that National Highways will publish later in the summer. We are measuring through a wide range of social value metrics and indicators. You will see in a slide in a few moments' time what those metrics and indicators are. They're split across three key issues of social value. One is economic prosperity, the other is equality, diversity and inclusion, and the third is community well-being. So all of the metrics are related to those three core issues of social value. And we can also, through use of the tool, identify hotspots for action. We can shine a light on best practice and share that across the Regional Delivery Partnership and wider across National Highways. And we can also benchmark the performance of various schemes to ensure that all are delivering a maximum social value that they can. Issues that I mentioned just before there that we're going to be reporting on through the social value tool are economic prosperity, equality, diversity and inclusion, and community well-being. And you will see when you go into the tool, when you report data, that all of the metrics are related to those three key issues. And on the forms that are filled in on a quarterly basis, all the metrics feed back into those three core issues. It's important to recognize that the social value tool has a set hierarchy, a set structure. It's important to bear that in mind as you're using the tool and asking others to use the tool for schemes that you're operating. So at the top of the tree, there's the National Corporate Dashboard, as we call it, for National Highways, which brings together the reports from RDP, from Scheme Delivery Framework, from Smart Motorways Programme, etc., into one national high-level dashboard to look at social impact as a whole in the round. The major frameworks and projects that National Highways operate, working closely with yourselves, will also have their own reporting dashboards. So the RDP, underneath that highest level dashboard, the RDP will have its own reporting dashboard. And then the schemes within the RDP, importantly, will also have their own reporting dashboards. Data is collected at project level through the tool. So that's also a key thing to bear in mind, that all of the reports are done at scheme stroke project level, which we call a reporting unit within the tool. At the lowest level are all of the reports which are submitted on a quarterly basis. The first quarter for the tool is Q2 in terms of this calendar year. So that's a period from April to June. And the reporting deadline for this first quarter of the tool's use will be middle of July, July the 14th. Then we are going to report on Q3, which is the period from July through to the end of September. And the report for Q3 will be 14th of October. So as you can see, there's a pattern whereby the deadline for the reports is always on the 14th of the month following the period in question. I hope that makes sense, but we can circle back round to that if there are any questions. Just looking in a little bit more depth at the account structure that we've set up within the social value tool. As I mentioned before, national highways, corporate level, the highest level data will be reported on, bringing together the various information which is submitted by the separate frameworks. And then underneath each of those frameworks, reporting will be done at scheme level, as you see there. And within the RDP, because of the special structure of the RDP, we'll also have regional dashboards. So if project managers and other stakeholders within national highways wish to, they can report across their region of activity under the RDP. The other frameworks, we are working through how the other frameworks will operate, SNP Alliance, Scheme Delivery Framework, etc. We're having meetings with managers of those frameworks to understand how best they can use the tool and ensure that their supply chains are regularly submitting data. For the moment, we're asking the RDP to be the pioneers in using the social value tool and to make sure that for their schemes, we're collecting accurate data right from the get-go during this quarter for the reporting deadline on July the 14th. Okay, so tool metrics and indicators. You'll have to bear with me here because I think the font is quite small, but I'll try and talk through the tool metrics and indicators which we are using, which have all been tested and decided on in conjunction with a wide pool of suppliers who have been invited to contribute to the development work which has been ongoing for the social value tool. So a lot of thought and discussion has been put into deciding on the various metrics and indicators that we're using for the social value tool. Again, apologies for the small font, but you'll see there, going back to the previous slides, if you remember those three issues, economic prosperity, EDI, community well-being, we've got a series of metrics underneath each of those key issues. We've got, I think I'm right in saying, 30 in total, which we're asking companies to report on. The previous sustainability tool, which many on the call will be familiar with, had well over 70 metrics for suppliers to report on, and in actual fact over 90 for delivery integration partners, DIPs, to report on. So we've cut that down and focused in on the three core issues of social value. So we hope it'll be a lighter touch approach and an easier task to submit the data through this new social value tool, as there are far fewer metrics. This session is being recorded just as a reminder, so don't feel the need to start to scribble all of these metrics down. They're all there within the tool itself, which Stefania will talk us through in due course this morning. But we'll also circulate the slides from this session as well, which everybody will have access to. I'm going to pass across now to Stefania, who's going to take us through exactly what an admin's role is within the social value tool, what you guys need to be aware of, what you need to be planning for, what you need to be asking others to do within your supply chains. So Stefania, thanks for joining this morning. I'll pass across to you, and I'll keep an eye on questions that are coming through as you take up the baton, if that's okay.
Thank you very much, Andrew. And hi, everyone. Hopefully you can see my screen right now.
Yeah, we've got that.
Okay, perfect. So I'm here today to walk you through the new National Highway Social Value Tool. But before I move on to that, I wanted to talk about what the role of the admin is and some of the key things that you need to know as an administrator. So if you're here today, it's probably because you've been nominated to be the administrator of your organization's account in the Social Value Tool. If you didn't know, administrators do play a key role in the successful implementation of the tool because you will have the highest authority level and you'll be able to create new projects, new schemes, grant access to the system, etc. One of the first things that will be part of your responsibility is to manage your company's account in the Social Value Tool. And this, as I said, this means that you can modify settings, you can access all data at all levels, you can give access to other members of your organization, you can create supplier accounts in the system, and so forth and so on. Secondly, you will be the main point of contact between your organization and your supply chain or your other colleagues who have access to the Social Value Tool. This means that as an administrator, you'll be in charge of any change made to your supplier accounts. For example, if one of your suppliers would like to add or remove any of the users, that's something you can help them out with. If you need to add a new supplier organization or remove a new supplier organization, that's something that you can do as well, or any changes to the configuration. And last but not least, administrators will be responsible for managing your supply chain. So it's really important that you check the account regularly, specifically around reporting deadlines, so that you can get a better understanding on who is reporting and who isn't, but very importantly, the quality of the data that has been reported as well. Just a reminder of the 4 roles that users can have in the system. So as you can see on the screen, in the Social Value Tool, you can have reporters, approvers, administrators, and viewers. I'm gonna focus on the administrator today, but just as a reminder, reporter is the person responsible for entering data into the system, and a reporter can also modify any data that has been submitted in case there's been a mistake, for example. Approvers are people responsible for sense checking that the data submitted by the reporter is correct, and therefore they can either accept or reject a report. Each supplier organization will have its own reporter and its own approver. We also have viewers, and these are people that can have access to the dashboards, but they can't really make any changes to the system, so it's a bit of a more passive role. And finally, we've got the administrator, who has the highest level of authority in the system, who will be able to set up and manage new projects or new schemes, modify any settings, navigate any dashboards, and also run reports as well. So how can you configure a new project or a new scheme in the Social Value Tool? Here we have drafted this process to give you an idea of how it would work. At this point, this process is very high level, but my colleagues Andrew and Bryony will explain all these steps in more detail during the individual sessions that they're going to have with your organizations. So don't worry about that. I just wanted to explain very quickly the process to get things configured in the Social Value Tool. So the first step here is to decide on the reporting unit that will be part of the social value tool. I'm going to take RDP as an example. The first step would be to identify which scheme will be added to the social value tool, and you need to provide certain information about that scheme, such as the name of the scheme, the start and finish dates, and also what will be the first reporting period. So that's an example that would apply to RDP. Once you decide on the reporting unit, your organization will need to establish who the administrators are going to be, if they haven't done so already. So there is a form, a user form that you can fill out and that you can share with Bryony and Andrew so that they give the right credentials to administrators. Step number 3 is about identifying the supplier companies that are going to be reporting data into this system, and also the main contacts, who are the people that will report the data on behalf of those organizations. Again, there is another form for you to provide this information, and you need to share this with Bryony and Andrew to finish up the configuration. Step number 4 is about making sure that those reporters and approvers know how to navigate the social value tool. So this is about engaging all reporting companies in contact to attend training on the tool. So the supply chain school will arrange this live training, and we support you with this part of the process. And also the school has developed user guides that are available for reporters and approvers, and that explain step by step how to submit the data, how to approve data, and so forth. Once all reporters and approvers have been trained and configured in the system, they're ready to start reporting data. And here is where you as an administrator also play a very important role, which is about managing your suppliers and making sure that they are indeed reporting data. So it would be part of your responsibility to check who is reporting and who isn't, and also the quality of the data that has been reported. Any feedback that you get from suppliers around the system or how the submission process could be improved is always welcome, and the school is always working on improving the platform to make it easier for users to navigate. Now, in terms of the specific steps that you need to undertake in the system, the first one will be registration. So if you're an administrator but you don't have access to the system yet, please do contact my colleague Bryony, who will be able to set you up in the system. You'll receive an email with a registration link, and it's very simple to fill out. Essentially, you simply need to add your name, last name, and email address, and that will grant you access to the system. And the second step will be for you to accept the invite to the corresponding projects. I just want to clarify here that if you were an admin in the previous sustainability tool for RDP, then you don't need to register again. You can use the same credentials to log in to the new social value tool. As I was mentioning before, some of the specific tasks that you need to do in the system includes adding supplier organizations. So basically creating an account for those suppliers that are going to be inputting data into the system. This is a very simple process. The only thing you need to set up a supplier account is to know the name of that supplier, as you can see here. This is an example, supplier ABC, followed by the name of the scheme that they work for. And then down below, you'll have the option to add a template, which is what we have created to simplify the process of adding suppliers to the system. Once you do that, you click submit, and that's how you create a supplier organization. I'm gonna explain this during the live demo as well. The Second step after you create that supplier account is to add what we call the reporting package, which is a level down below for them to submit data. That is very simple as well. You simply click on this arrow at the end of the company name and you select add a reporting package. You then need to fill out some information, which will be the same name of that supplier, in this case, supplier ABC, followed by the word reporting. And then below you're setting up what's the first reporting period. In this case, as Andrew mentioned, it's going to be Q2 2022. So it runs from April to June 2022. The due date is the submission deadline, which is mid-July. And the last box is for you to appoint the reporter for that company. That is quite simple as well. The same way you can add supplier organizations, there is an option in the system to delete suppliers. However, that is going to be centralized by the school, just because once you delete a company, that cannot be recovered. Okay, so if at any point you need to remove a supplier organization or you need to remove an entire scheme, please get in touch with Bryony and she's going to help you with that. Once you set up a supplier organization and you also set up the reporting package for them to submit data, you need to give people access to that account, right? To add users, you're going to need to know the email address of that person and also the role that they're going to have within the system. So just as an example, I've added Andrew here. You can simply send the invite at the email address and then select from the drop-down list if this person is going to be the reporter or the approver in the case of your suppliers. You then click on send invite and these users will receive an automatic email with the system from the system with instructions on how to register. The opposite is also possible. You can remove the access of people. It's quite similar as well. In that same members section, you identify the user that you want to remove. This is something that you can do. You click on the setting icons and then click delete, and that will remove access for that person to that particular level. In terms of support, Andrew and Bryony have developed user guides for admins that explain step-by-step how you can do the things that I've just explained. And if you have any questions about the system, you can always contact Bryony at bryony@supplychainschool.co.uk. So just to recap, it's really important for you as an administrator to check out your account regularly, specifically around reporting deadlines, to understand who is reporting and who isn't. It's really important for you to keep in touch with your suppliers and to understand whether they need additional support or if there's any problematic reporting areas that we can improve as a whole. Remember that feedback is really key to ensure the success of this initiative, and that we've also developed slides and other support material that you can use to navigate the system as well. So having said that, I'm just going to show you how the system looks like. So hopefully you're seeing the landing page right now. Yep, okay, great, thanks for that. So this is the landing page of the social value tool. The URL is nationalhighwaysocialvalue.sustainabilitytool.com, and in here you're going to find information about social value, what we're trying to achieve with this tool, what are the benefits of using this tool, and also the reporting periods and upcoming reporting deadlines for you to know. There is also access to all the training and support from here. For example, you can download the training slides for reporters and approvers, for administrators, and also the user guides, okay? So again, this is going to be helpful for you in case you need to redirect your suppliers to this kind of information. Now, as I said before, if you already had access to the previous sustainability tool, you can use those same credentials to log in, which you can do from the landing page. However, if you haven't had access yet, you can contact my colleague Bryony, and she'll give you access. You can then self-register. Let me show you how to do that. You can then self-register here. You only need your first name, last name, email, and you need to create a password as well. As simple as that. Now, this is how the system looks like at this point. At the very top, we've got the corporate dashboard, which corresponds to national highways. And then down below, we've got RDP for the time being, which is the active project on the social value tool. But in the future, you'll have SDF, SMP, and other initiatives right here in the system as well. So I'm just gonna walk you through the RDP accounts. As you know, it's divided into several regions: East, Midlands, North, Southeast, and Southwest. And every time you click on a region, you're able to see the delivery integration partners, or the companies that are delivering works on that region. And then similarly, if you then click on each one of those organizations down below, you'll see the scheme they're working on. And if you click on the scheme, then you'll see a list of all the supplier companies that have been set up with an account for that particular scheme. Now, I'm just gonna come back to what I was explaining with the slides. As an administrator, you can create a new scheme, for example, and I'm gonna do that now just to show you how you can do it. So we're gonna pretend that I work for Costain, and they currently have this first scheme, and I now need to create another one. So I simply click on the last arrow, and I select add a business unit, and I add the name of the scheme. So I'm just gonna do scheme ABC, you submit. Wait a second. And as you can see, there is now a new scheme created for Costain in the East. Once you create this new scheme, you're gonna need to set up the supplier accounts. They will have access to this scheme. And again, that's a very simple process. You simply click on the arrow again, and now select add a project. You need to know the name of the company. So again, just because this is a demo, I'm just gonna say that this supplier is supplier A, followed by the name of the scheme. The reason why we include the name of the scheme is because some of your suppliers might be reporting for more than one scheme, so we want to avoid any confusion. And then from template, you select template version 1, which is basically copying all the configuration that we've already developed for you, and then you click submit.
Fania?
Yeah.
That's quite a key point, isn't it? Just in terms of the language, you know, the sort of lexicon that we're using. The project actually means a company. I just wanted to make sure that that was clarified. People would automatically assume that project means maybe the scheme that they're delivering, but in the language of the tool, project is equivalent to a company.
Yes, that's true. And I believe this is also part of the user guides. What you call a scheme would be a business unit in the tool, and what you call a supplier company will be a project in the tool.
Thanks.
So thanks for that. That was really helpful. So as you can see, we've already created this new scheme. Then we created a new supplier company. But as I said, you also need to create a reporting package for them to be able to enter that data. So very simple. Again, it follows the same logic. You click here, you say add a reporting package. You add the name of the supplier again. So we said this supplier was supplier A, followed by the word reporting, so that they know that here's where they need to report. You set the current reporting period. So let's say that this is going to be Q2 2022. The due date is going to be mid-July. So this is the deadline. And then you appoint the reporter to submit information. You can then click on this. So now you know how to create a scheme, how to create a supplier company in a reporting package. And the last step would be for you to add users to this supplier account. So to do that, you go to the supplier company, you go to the project menu, and you select members. And as you can see, there is a section here called members. The only thing that you need to know is the email address and the role that the person is going to have for that company. So I'm going to add myself as an example. Let's say that I'm going to be the reporter for this company. So I add my email address, I select reporter, and I click submit. As soon as I do that, I'm going to receive an email notifying that I've been invited to join this company account. That is how you add users or members to each supplier account, or also that's how you add your colleagues from within your organization who want to have access to the system. Similarly, if you want to remove them, you simply need to identify the person that you need to remove. You select the setting icons and click delete. And that's basically the end of the process. I'm going to stop here and ask if there is any questions so far. I know it seems like a lot, but you'll have support on this.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be. Can I just start? Joanna Hitchin from Costain has asked, the A12 scheme just above where you've introduced a new scheme doesn't show any indicators. That's presumably because nobody has created a reporting package.
Yeah, so that is because this new social value tool will start on this, on this current period. We don't have any previous data on the social value tool. Like if you want to add the data that you've been added in the last year in the other tool, you can do that by accessing the tool, the other tool with the other link. But here, what you see, you don't see anything because you'll start on the social value tool this period, and the deadline is July.
But all of the projects are in there, aren't they?
Yeah, the projects are here. Yeah. So it's ready to report basically.
Yeah. So all Joe would need to do, or the admin from Costain would need to do, is go into each of those projects and look at the reporting packages.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how it works. Is there any other question?
Emily's asking, will our indicators align with our commitments? Emily, you might want to explain a little bit more about that. Does that mean sort of contractual commitment that you've got?
Yeah, sorry, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Cool. So yeah, I work on the M42 Junction 6. So obviously our commitments were made a few years ago now. And I just wanted to find out if when our reporting kicks in, will our indicators or what we're being asked to report on align with the commitments we've been given? Because I'm just very aware, like had a look through their metrics, a lot of their metrics don't align with our commitments at all. So it's not data we will be collecting because we've never had to do it, if that makes sense. So I just wanted to find out if they're going to be aligned or not.
Yeah, Steve, feel free to comment on this, but Emily, from my point of view, we have to have a standard approach, and the commitments across all 30 or so different schemes from the RDP might be slightly different between DIPs and between those schemes. So we have to, I think, use a standard approach which enables us to compare and contrast social value impact from each of those. I'm sure, we can do a little gap analysis with you if you like on those commitments, but I'm sure most, or I would hope most, would be covered by the metrics that we've got within the tool. Any that aren't, I presume that Skanska would be collecting outside of the tool environment, but hopefully, as I say, most of them would be, but we can have a look and go through. If you can supply us with those commitments, we can have a look and try and fit in and align the commitments to the metrics. The metrics might be slightly different wording, but hopefully the data collected would help you report on those commitments.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We're just kind of, because of the stage of the project, we're at a stage where we're getting all our evidence together to try and start signing off them commitments. So long story short, metrics that don't line up with them, there's a low chance we're just going to start doing it, if that makes sense, unless we really need to, because we're at a later stage now. So
right.
I think a gap analysis would be really useful.
Yeah, we'd happily help out with that, Emily. I think you could appreciate the position that we find ourselves in that there are all kinds of commitments at various stages of maturity that have been made in the past few months and even in the past 2 or 3 years, but we've had to really almost like start with a clean slate to try and address the requirements of PPN 0620 primarily. But we're happy to work with you and identify where those gaps are. But what you are quite right, one of the additional functions of the tool is that in future, it will enable us to record the promises and commitments that have been made by various contractors, and then create a traffic light system about how well contractors are progressing against the contractual commitments that they've made. But that's a future development, not something that's available straight off the bat. The intention is to collect the data and understand the complete picture across the entire organization. But you're quite right in spotting that is the kind of direction of travel, that we will be able to understand the commitments that have been made and then measure how far we're making against progress against delivery of those commitments. But as Andrew said, we'll happily set an offline session with you to discuss the commitments in question, and then look at how best to accommodate those within the tool that we've got. Yeah,
no, that's perfect. Thank you. Sorry, I know I'm taking up loads of people's time.
No, not a problem. Not a problem at all.
Sorry, my next question is me more being nosy.
Yeah.
Will future projects and future bidding then align with the metrics in this tool?
Well, they're a starting place. They're a starting point. The thing about social value is that everything that National Highways does delivers social value in one way, shape or form. So whether that delivers greater journey certainty, or whether that delivers greater volume of journeys that can be made on the strategic road network. But what we're looking for are to measure the additional benefits, some of the softer things, if you like, about and as a for instance, the commercial and procurement team have proposed that June is a month of volunteering opportunities for them and their supply chain, and 70-80 of our colleagues are currently volunteering, and that's a soft target, if you like, Emily, but nonetheless it's one that we feel is worth recording. But yes, the metrics will form the base, but it is important to note that these are a base of metrics, and a base implies that they can be built on. So we are aware that if you do any work with Network Rail, you may or may not be familiar with the fact that they collect information on 280 points of data. So we've got to start somewhere, and we believe this is a solid foundation from which to work from. So happy to have a discussion with you about it as well, just by way of explaining where we're at, why we're at where we are. Yeah.
No worries, thank you.
Thanks very much.
Joe, did you want to pick up on that issue regarding reporting packages, just to make sure everything's as it should be for the A12 scheme that you mentioned, or others that Costain are managing?
So I'm assuming then that when a supplier enters data, then this screen that we're looking at Walters now, aren't we? But then the screen that says no indicators set up that you're looking at now, then when one of those suppliers enters data, then it will populate something on that page, right?
You're on mute, sorry, Stefania.
Sorry, it took me a while to unmute myself.
Yeah.
Yes, that is correct. As soon as I start populating data, all the dashboards will populate as well.
Thank you.
So from a supplier's point of view, you know, the ones who've already got logins, they'll just be able to simply go in and everything will be ready for them to input data.
Yes.
Mhm.
So the same structure that was used with the previous sustainability tool has been replicated in the new one to make sure that those suppliers who already had an account in the old tool now have an account in the social value tool, and they can simply log in using their same credentials and start reporting against these new metrics.
And those that need to can just set up a new password, can't they, for any that have lost that, can't remember it.
If, for example, you would like to add a new supplier that's currently not part of your scheme, you can follow the steps that I just showed you to create a supplier account, and then you'll need to know who within that organization will report and approve that information. So you simply add them as a member, and then they can self-register.
Mind going back to the tool itself, just to show people, you know, the structure and the fact that, you know, we've got those regions, and you just have a look at North, for example, or Midlands as well, just to show an idea of all of the schemes that are already embedded, if you like, into that.
Of course. So it does follow the same logic. So if I'm just going to start opening up all these branches. So we've got the first scheme here for Costain, then we've got Gallic4Try with about 5 schemes in here, Skanska as well. Now I'm going to close the East. Oh, well, now I'm opening up the Midlands where we have BAM Nuttall, Osborne, and Skanska. I'm opening up BAM Nuttall.
And Osborne have changed their name, obviously, haven't they, to Octavius, so we need to amend that.
Yeah, that's a very easy change.
Yeah.
So we've got Skanska in here with the M42 junction 6. If I clear North, we've got MASRM, Costain here, and now I'm opening up all those schemes. So hopefully you get to see that on the left-hand side of the screen. Now I'm gonna open up Southeast, where we've got BAM Nuttall, Balfour Beatty, Graham, and Volker Fitzpatrick. And now I'm gonna open all the schemes.
Okay, thanks. And just to reiterate, the idea is that we have these individual, if you like, onboarding sessions with the DIPs themselves, so we can check the timing of these schemes, what stage they're at, you know, the PCF stage that Joe referred to, and just go through that and see which ones need to report from the get-go and which ones will come on stream further down the line.
Yeah.
So I'm reaching for we've got some dates organized, haven't we, with DIPs already. We've got dates set up with Costain, we've got dates set up with Balfour Beatty, with Volker Fitzpatrick, Kia. We're working on organizing a date with Keltbray, but we're in touch with others as well, just to make sure that we've got those individual sessions booked in the diary over the next sort of 3 to 4 weeks. Steve, I'll refer you to Joe's question there. We've got about sort of 7 or 8 minutes left on the call, so.
Yeah, and I'm busy trying to type Joe a response.
Oh, sorry, right, okay.
No.
Apologies if I should know the answer already, sorry.
No, Joe, absolutely not. But I think it's a good question. The information will be fed. What I've written so far is the information will feed into an overall commercial and procurement dashboard. So the information on who is providing data on the metrics and conversely, who isn't, will be made available to commercial and procurement colleagues. Consequently, that performance will make its way right up until the senior exec level. Not all 29 metrics will flow up, but 3 or 4 key of those metrics, and we're in the process of deciding which, will actually feature on an exec level dashboard that will be reviewed by the board. So it is important to note that companies that are good at collecting data will probably be recognised for their ability to do that, and it will also equally, you can see where this is going. Companies who are not so good at collecting the data will be helped to point out where that data can be collected from. So we will work with suppliers who are having difficulty collecting various elements of that data to ensure that we've got a complete a picture as possible, because clearly we need a really true and accurate picture of how we're performing in order to provide evidence to DFT, amongst others. But it will feature in the kind of exec level meetings that you have, or with your supplier relationship managers, or with someone in the supplier development system. So the information will be visible, and clearly we want everybody to be equally as good. But where that isn't possible, we will work with people who need the help. But I'm not really certain whether that answers your question specifically, Joe, or whether you'd like me to expand on it later. But that's where we're at the moment.
Thank you. No, that's helpful to know in terms of direction of travel. And do you think you will know what those 3 or 4 key metrics are this month, or what sort of time frame are you looking at for that?
I think that would be, if I'm honest, by the end of the year. The strategy will be launched. Andrew mentioned summer. I would love it to be summer. I think it's more likely to be September, given that August is quite a difficult month to get everybody together. So we've got a draft of the strategy, which is great. It's been revised and updated currently, going through National Highways language. So that's in train, but we don't think it'll be available for publication until September. And then following that, running at the side of that, these 29 metrics are part of a broad range of a wide range of information that is collected by the business that will somehow form its way. But we can make you aware once that's known. But I should have put out a little bit of a fan request there, shouldn't I, Joe? Because we know that Costain are very, very good at collecting this information. So yeah.
I wasn't looking for a
I know you weren't, but I've given you that anyway because I know that you are. So
yeah, just trying to make sure that we can help our suppliers, obviously, and collaboration wise. Sorry.
Yeah. No. Sorry, apologies, Joe. I was going to say that we are available to speak to your suppliers if you would like the message from the client to be, made at first hand, because they may find that helpful, because they may view this as, well, why do we have to do that? If we can explain that, look, it's in your interests, because if we are successful in obtaining a better RIS3 settlement, then effectively we have more money to spend, so we can spend that with the entire supply chain, of which you are a constituent part. So consequently, there should be more turnover, more work for your business. So it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy is what we're trying to get through to people, Joe. So any help that you could give us in communicating the message within your organisation and throughout your supply chain will be really, really appreciated.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks both. Emily, just to pick up on your 2 points that you've contributed there, sorry to hear that there's a couple of suppliers who didn't receive any feedback from questions that they put to the team for the previous sustainability tool. We do have a system in place. We have got an info@email address, which is regularly reviewed, and that feeds through to a Trello sort of project management software, so we can keep track of tickets, if you like, for enquiries coming through to that central email address. Initially, myself and Bryony have made ourselves available as well for any enquiries to do with the social value tool, but we've also got the generic email address info@sustainabilitytool.com, I think it is, where those enquiries go, and I'll take that as an action to make sure that the team regularly review that email address and we get responses back to anyone who needs help with any aspect of the tool. You also talked about rolling out training to suppliers. Yes, we've got a reporters and approvers training session tomorrow, which we're going to record and disseminate across the supply chain as widely as we can. The sessions that we've got with you guys, with the DIPs, those individual sessions that I've referred to, feel free, if it makes sense, to invite suppliers along to those. But what we can do on the back of those, maybe a better way of doing it is coordinate sort of times and dates to have those onboarding sessions with your suppliers to help you pass the message on, because we've got to work together on this, and we've got to help you bring suppliers on board to make sure that we get as many companies as possible who are supporting and involved in any of the RDP schemes or other areas of National Highways work, for that matter, contributing data through the social value tool. That's how, as Steve has explained, we're all going to be successful in making sure that National Highways are able to evidence the impact of the highway sector, and when they're bidding for that RIS3 settlement. So yeah, we are very keen to give all of the support required to make it work, but we also are to a large degree reliant on yourselves being ambassadors for the tool and making sure that the suppliers and subcontractors who report into you guys are aware of it and know how to use it. At the moment, we've got 30 or 40 suppliers who have used the previous version of the tool. We want to go way beyond that for this social value tool. The minimum is to have 100 suppliers reporting data, and we believe that across the supply chain, tier 2 and tier 3s, we're still just sort of scratching the surface in terms of the level and quantity of data that's out there which can be contributed. So thanks in advance for your help with that challenge to ensure that we get as much data and as much rigor in response to the social value tool as we can. I'm going to close the meeting shortly because we're coming to the end of the hour. Thanks, Steve. I'm just checking the last few bits of the chat. You've responded to Joe in writing there, which is great. Are there any other questions before we do that, before we close this off? Obviously, a reminder that we've recorded this, so we'll make it available through the Social Value Tool platform and through the National Highways page on the Supply Chain School website as well, for people to go back through. And as I said, you're all familiar, of course, that we've got the individual sessions coming up when we can go into more detail on the schemes that your organisations are responsible for. So any other questions before we close this morning? Okay, great. Thanks, Steve. Thanks in particular to Stefania. Thanks to everyone who's joined this session. I hope it's been useful for you, and I look forward to meeting you in the next few weeks, as I've said, to look in more detail how your organisations are going to be using the tool and working with you to make sure that happens. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you again soon.